For some time now, I have been noticing something, and initially I thought it was just sort of people quibbling terms. People didn't want to agree on terms. I don't think that's what it is. I think what's actually happening is there's literally a real disagreement on certain terms. And today I'm going to talk about one of those terms, and it's why I titled the subject of this podcast, Republic, because I'm really sort of seeing some issues there, but we'll talk about that in the podcast itself. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Thursday, the 10th of March of 2022. Thank you for everyone who's here, and welcome aboard for everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page. That would be the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on minds.com. Typically, you'll find me there on the Kurt's Religion and Politics group, on Parler, on Gab, and Twitter, and wherever else you might be happening to find me today. And again, the subject for today is Republic. And I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes so that you'll have some idea kind of where I'm coming from a little bit. I'm going to talk specifically about Republic, but I'm going to kind of point out that I see some quibbling of terms there. Anyway, let me go ahead and do that. I refuse to quibble terms. When I use the term Republic, I'm speaking of an entity under law. Usually it's a country, right? Or a state, if you will. To be clear, that doesn't mean all law, just some base ideas that are foundational to the entity. So in the United States, we can talk about the U.S. Constitution. There's this idea you find in the Bible, which to be fair can be found just about everything, that if a foundation is bad, so is whatever ends up being built on that foundation. By this logic, a republic, again, using my definition, can be a wonderfully good or terribly bad thing, or frankly, anything in between. If you think about it, you can find the word republic everywhere, usually when describing countries. I mean, the Dominican Republic, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, or North Korea, the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, right? The Republic of Korea or South Korea, and so many more, good and bad. If you define a republic as I have, an entity under foundational law, you pretty much must accept that republics can be anywhere on the spectrum between good, as I said before, and bad. You must also acknowledge that a republic that fails to stay true to its fundamentals is not really a republic at all. And if the baseline for such an entity can be easily changed, likewise. The idea that America was founded on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution is, if anything, what makes it a superior entity. Simply put, that the country exists in a republican framework, and it supposedly does not mean it's good. It must retain fidelity to that base to be, and more importantly, to continue to be a good nation. And the base has to be a good one, by the way. Let's not forget that. It can certainly be argued that parts of the U.S., the way the country works, are democratic, but underlying it all is the republic, or at least that's how things were intended to work. Every day I see us moving further and further from that ideal. What I see is a major part of the issue is that folks fail to understand how critical the republic is, using, quote, my definition, end of quote. If we fail to grasp that reality, I pretty much promise we're not headed in good directions. Do you have children? If so, it would be in everybody's best interest to get them to understand these things as early and as deeply as possible. The reality of life is this. A democracy is invariably a bad idea. Pure democracy is invariably a bad idea. Because what happens is you go this way and you go that way and you go this way and you go that way. And the majority basically is deciding everything. This is why the United States as a republic was founded. Because the founders had it in their minds to set certain baseline authorities, certain baseline rules, and to say, we're not moving off of this. We're keeping to this, and even if the democratic parts of the United States sort of fail, we want to stay with these ideas behind the republic. I was going to say Republican ideas. I thought the better of it because, unfortunately, people, when they hear the word Republican, like when they hear the word Republic, use it to mean something other than what I mean by it. That's why I had to define my terms in terms of Republic already, is that I believe that people are defining terms for themselves in ways that don't make any sense. Republic is a horrible word these days. Again, if you look at it, the DPRK or the DDR or whatever it was called, the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, right? East Germany was not a republic at all, never was, as far as I can tell. Well, or if they were a republic with bad laws as their baseline. And this is part of the problem, right? People's Republic of China. Okay, but guess what? As far as it goes, the laws that are in place, the rules that are foundational to the country are not something I would want to live under. They're just not. And so this is part of the point. There are lots of places, the Republic of the Congo, I think, maybe, right? So many places in the world that count themselves Republican in their form of government, and yet the baseline for what they do as a republic is bad. And it means that those places are not places that I would really want to be. And I hate to say this, but the way things are going where the United States is concerned, we're headed in much the same sort of direction, sadly. Hopefully we can come back to a reasonable thing. But the first thing I think we need to have understood is that if the Republican part of the United States, and I'm not talking about the Republican Party, again, I'm talking about the idea of the United States as a republic and the things under which that republic stands, right? The Constitution and the Bill of Rights, with its quote Bill of Rights and its other amendments, which some of them I disagree with, I might tell you. And you could argue that the Declaration is along with that, right? In that it states certain things that make it clear sort of what the foundation of the Republic was about. But if you don't have those things, as far as I'm concerned, the United States is no better than any other republic. It's no better than any other republic. If you counted an entity under law, a country under law, whatever you want to say, a federation under law, a union under law, whatever you choose to call it, that's lovely. But if the law that it's under is not the one that it started out with, we've got problems. And we're not maintaining fidelity to that, to the basis for the Republic. And by the way, if we don't maintain fidelity to the Republic now, what on earth makes you think that that's going to happen later? If we allow the Republic to change now, what on earth makes you think that the basis for the Republic is not going to change again in future? What makes you believe that? I don't think that's true. So again, we're talking about this idea of people quibbling terms or seemingly quibbling terms, and I think it's not that. I think what's really going on, particularly with the idea of republic, is that people actually have different ideas about what that means. For my part, I know what it means. It's an entity under law. If you have a different idea for that, that's lovely. But as far as I'm concerned, what I'm interested in is an entity under law. And if we don't have that, I pretty much think we're stuck. I think we're messed up to the point that we're probably not going to recover unless we get back to where we were. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap up. This has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt, and today is Thursday, the 10th of March of 2022. That means we're getting closer to the end of the week. Tomorrow being Friday, the 11th of March of 2022, the beginning of that Sabbath at sundown on tomorrow. I don't know if you'll see sundown tomorrow in a meaningful way, because I think we're in for some, maybe a little bit of nasty weather tomorrow afternoon. Thank you for everyone who's been on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on my Facebook page, which is the Kurt's Religion and Politics page on Facebook, on kurtzreligionandpolitics.locals.com, on minds.com. Again, typically you'll see me in the Kurt's Religion and Politics group there, on Parler, on Gab, on Twitter, or wherever else you happen to be picking me up. Remember, you can give me a boxing glove or a Rumble on Rumble. You can give me a like, dislike, or whatever on Rumble and the various other places you can go. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it happens to be to see my content. I imagine you'll figure out all that you can do there. You can leave a comment, and it will help me to know whether or not I'm producing content that you care about or think is good. And I might reply to your comment if I think that's reasonable. I will only delete typically your content, your comment on my content, if I think it's an advertisement that has nothing to do with me or something that's going to harm other people. Even if it's kind of out there, I'll probably leave it otherwise. I hope you're having a good day today. I really do. Subject for today has been Republic. Tomorrow we're going to talk about unlikely bedfellows, and this is more contemporaneous than I normally get. It's somewhat about the idea behind the current process of kind of hooking together of China and Russia. We'll talk about that some more tomorrow, though. Again, I hope you're having a good day. I hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Friday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was created on Thursday, the 10th of March of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.